or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at like 23 new cards in one video. I may have miscounted, I apologise if I have. What we've got today, ladies and gentlemen, is a roundup of all the cards we've not yet got to from Sword and Shield 7 over in Japan. That, of course, is the double set. Now, we didn't used to do it like this. We used to give far more Pokemon the spotlight, but frankly, not all of them deserve the spotlight, but they all deserve to be spoken about. So we're doing a big roundup. And of course, because we're doing a big roundup, there is every possibility I will unfortunately miss a Pokemon or two. So if you do think I have missed one, please do let me know in the comment section, and I'll fix it at some point in the not too distant future. Now, we're going to be going largely set by set here. Weirdly enough, there are a couple of typings like Fighting and Dragon which do straddle both of them. Mostly, the typings are actually only in one set or the other. So, yeah, let's do it that way. Let's start off with water, and let's start off with Simipour. Yeah, apparently, it's that time in the cycle where the monkeys are back. They're never particularly good. You have 100 HP, which is actually super annoying, so it leaves you just out of range of getting level balls, so cheers for that. I'd much rather have 90 than 100 nowadays. And for 1 energy, 20 plus confusion, and I've talked about this a lot before, this is the kind of attack I don't mind on a basic. Xurkitree has this exact attack, and I like it. Xurkitree, incidentally, also has more HP. So yeah, Xurkitree's better. For 2 colourless energy, you do 60 damage for each supporter card in your opponent's hand, which sounds really good, but how often do you have more than 2 supporters in your hand? 2 energy, 120 on a stage 1 is not terribly impressive, which honestly is a pretty good way to sum up this card. Not terribly impressive. But how about Clawitzer? Could that one be a little bit better? Well, for 1 water energy, and I should say the translations here come from the lovely Cerebi.net. For 1 water energy, you do 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And as much as I love doing 50 damage, and I love the single energy, we're talking about a stage 1 Pokemon, which means this isn't really going to be good enough. 50 damage will get a Snom, but nowadays we need to be doing 70. And sure, you can get up to 70 using stuff like Galarian Zigzagoon and Scoop Up Net, but you're already using a stage 1 Pokemon. This just doesn't do enough. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Moving over into Psychic, we can have a little bit of a look at Wigglytuff. And if anybody out there really wanted to have a yarn-based Pokemon, great news. The 120 is awkward because, as I keep saying, you got stuff like Urshifu that will hit 120 to 2 Pokemon at once. We do not want 120, we want 130, Boo Hiss, etc. And then, in terms of attacks here, we have got for just 1 Psychic Energy, search your deck for any 2 cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. And I like attacks like this on a basic Pokemon. Of course, let's not forget your opponent can always just drop something like a Marnie and make this pointless. If it's turn 1 and you've gone second, yes, but not after you've taken the time to evolve. It's a turn too slow. For 1 Psychic, 2 colourless energy, you do 90, and that's just not enough. For the amount of energy you're putting in here, that's not enough. That is not enough to KO an Urshifu V, let alone a V Max. And I'm sorry if this sounds mean, but if I'm putting free energy onto a stage 1 Pokemon, I at least want to be getting a Pokemon V that I'm hitting for weakness. Sorry, Wigglytuff, that don't impress me much. But we do also have Sigilyph coming in here as well, and Sigilyph has been very good in the past. Now, we do have a basic Pokemon. Once again, we got 100 HP, so just out of range of Level Ball. So cheers for that. For 1 colourless energy, you do 20 damage. But before doing any damage, you discard all tool cards from your opponent's active Pokemon. And as much as I love getting rid of tool cards, this isn't good enough. I would rather just use Liepard V. Now, Liepard V only gets rid of 1 tool, but it has the decency to be an ability that I can just play a Pokemon to the bench and activate. I don't want to use my attack to do this. It's just not enough. Maybe if I was doing more than 20 damage, but I'm not. For 2 energy, you do 60 damage and move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench. And the biggest problem we've got here is just lack of damage. I like preserving energy. Preserving energy is good. It's going to be available for future turns, and that's a good thing. And this clearly has shades of the old Tornadus, but the fact of the matter is, this is just not enough damage. Tornadus did 80 in a format where 180 was about the maximum. This does 60 in a format where things go up to 340. It's too little damage to really be taken seriously on Sigilyph here. Moving over to fighting, now there's more fighting than most types because it is one of the few types that does straddle both of the mini-sets, like I said at the beginning. Starting off with Hitmonchan, we have a single strike Pokemon, 1 fighting energy, 20 damage, plus 50 more if your opponent's active is an evolution Pokemon, which is clearly a good thing. So against an evolved Pokemon, you'll do alright. And there are plenty, you're hitting 140 with weakness. Now, obviously, if you're not hitting for weakness, this is not particularly good. But something like Chinchino sees a huge amount of play and is weak to fighting. So this can actually be really good in that regard. Not to mention, you are a single strike Pokemon, so you've got stuff like Single Strike Energy or Karen's Conviction that you can use to really boost this up. So even though it is only 70 damage, you can boost this up to a lot more than 70 pretty gosh darn quickly, and you're hitting a good weakness. I like this Hitmonchan. For 2 energy, you do 40 damage, not affected by resistance. Let's not worry too much about that one. But especially playing around with single strike tricks and hitting a good weakness, being able to do 70 damage for a single energy, yeah. Fine, it's only against evolving Pokemon, but it's a basic. So put something else in your deck for evolving Pokemon. There we go. Problem solved. I like this. Not all the cards we're going to look at in this video are going to be good. There are going to be some hidden gems here, though, and Hitmonchan, I think, is very much one of those. Gliscor here, you've got 2 energy, 30 damage. Flip a coin if heads, discard an energy. Once again, this is the kind of attack that I could take seriously on a basic, but 2 energy and only 30 damage on a stage 1. It's too slow and doesn't do enough damage. For 3 energy, you got 100 damage and poison, and I feel pretty much about this like I did about the first one. It's too much effort, 3 energy stage 1, and you don't do enough damage. Sure, with weakness, you'll be getting stuff like Crobat, which is nice, but there are plenty of other Pokemon we can use to get rid of stuff like Crobat, so sorry, Gliscor, I don't think you're the one. Now, Sandslash comes in. There's a new Sandslash coming in here. Who doesn't like a bit of the old Sandslash? And what we've got here is 2 energy, 60 damage, place a card from your discard pile into your hand. And again, this feels like not enough. 2 energy feels like a lot, especially when you consider there's a bunch of Pokemon out there like Donphan that will do double the amount of damage as a stage 1 fighting Pokemon for half the amount of energy. Having said that, Donphan has a downside and Sandslash has an upside. You put a card from your discard pile into your hand. I don't like the 2 energy, I don't like the 60 damage, but I do kind of like recovering a card. But then again, is recovering 1 card enough? You could play some kind of deck where you're recovering annoying trainer cards and just replaying them to frustrate your opponents. But I don't think this is going to recover enough cards, and I don't think it's going to do enough damage. There is certainly potential with this Sandslash here, but I fear it's just not quite good enough. Now, Landorus comes in with the same annoying 120 HP. We really don't like that. But for 1 colourless energy, you do 20 damage and switch to the bench. And I want this to be a single strike Pokemon. I want to be able to be boosting up my damage while hitting and running to the bench. But this is not a single strike Pokemon. And fighting in the past have had plenty of tricks to boost their damage. I mean, goodness, we saw that Donphan was a single energy hit and run fighting Pokemon that had all of those tricks to boost damage. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is not the format we're in at the moment, and I just don't think this Donphan has got enough. if I'm honest with you. But for free energy, 120, move all energy from this Pokemon to your bench in any way you like. This one I do kind of like, because 120 is enough to get a bunch of KOs on a whole bunch of various Pokemon, things like the aforementioned Crobat, things like Eternatus V, obviously not the V Max, but the V, and then you're putting the energy around the field to set up for the future. The problem is getting the energy on there in the first place. I could definitely see a deck built with Landorus and stuff like B, where you use B to get energy on in the early game, and then when you attack with Landorus, you just move all of that energy around, and then you've got a Pokemon in the active that, if it gets KO'd, really doesn't give up much at all other than that one prize. I do think there's something that can be done with Landorus here. But moving on to a different typing, we have got ourselves a lovely new Toxicroak coming. Darkness type, because remember, poison types are now darkness types. And what we've got here for 1 darkness energy, poison, but you put 4 damage counters on the poison Pokemon between turns, rather than 1. And of course, we've got to remember that the Toxicroak from Sword and Shield has that rather phenomenal ability, which puts 2 extra damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon between turns. It is a stage 1 Pokemon, but it's at least single energy. This is really good if you can trap your opponent in the active. If you can play someone like a Boss's Orders and they don't have a switch or a way to retreat or something like that, this can build up very quickly. But I fear most of the time your opponent's just going to switch out of it, and essentially you're going to be doing single energy 40 damage, which is a lot less impressive. Free energy 90, I just can't get behind free energy 90. Once again, I'm just looking at the KOs I'm getting, and if I'm against something like a Shadow Rider Calyrex, just the V, not the V Max, and I'm hitting for weakness, I am still 30 damage away from getting a KO. I can't get on board with that, ladies and gentlemen. I just can't. This is one of those ones, I could see a poison deck being good in the future, but I don't know if we're ever going to have that kind of format. If we can have something that can trap you in the active from the bench, then we could be talking. Now, one that was revealed a little while ago, but I just didn't get to it because I just don't like it, is Galarian Perrserker. There are hidden gems on this list. I like Hitmonchan. I think Landorus could be cool. I don't like this Galarian Perrserker. Like, at all. It's got that annoying 120 HP, which we keep saying is annoying. 1 energy, you search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So you're basically probably giving up a prize after having evolved and using this attack on your second turn just to attach 2 extra energy. There are better ways to get energy. And then we got free energy 80. Doesn't even have the decency to do 90. Because we do have weak Pokemon Vs with 180, so 90 doubled will maybe at some point get a really weak Pokemon V. 80 doubled won't. Not cool, Galarian Perrserker. Not cool. But we do have a single strike Skarmory, and I do appreciate the alliteration going on here. Now, for 2 energy, you do 30 damage, and you take 30 less during your opponent's next turn. Unlike so many of the ones I've been talking about on this list so far, it's just not enough. I appreciate that it's a basic Pokemon. I appreciate that you've got twin energy to pay for it. But you're not doing enough damage, and you're not reducing enough damage. Sure, we've got that single strike energy, and we've always got Houndoom to accelerate more, but there has to come a point where we've seen enough single strike Pokemon that stuff like this still isn't good. Sure, we can boost up the power, but we can also do that with a billion other single strike Pokemon at this stage, so no. Free energy 110, I mean, look, I'll give you this. At least if you're hitting for weakness, you should get a KO here. So something like an Ice Rider Calyrex V, for instance. You will get a KO, and that's fun. But the fact of the matter is, you're still not doing enough. Because you can't use single strike energy to pay for this. So you can't accelerate it with Houndoom. So even though you're finally doing enough damage, it's not easy enough to get the energy on. and once again Skarmory falls a little bit short. But there's a new Klefki, and I don't hate Klefki. 70 damage means you are well in range of being searched out with a level ball, and then 1 colorless energy, 10 damage, draw 2 cards. Obviously, this is a very, very, very low amount of damage, but you're drawing cards. And there will be turns where you can get a KO while drawing 2 cards. Or there will be turns where you can do 10 damage, but actually there's a Pokemon that was going to be 10 damage away from being KO'd in the future, and now they are being KO'd, and that's wonderful. I think there is a lot to like here about this Klefki. As a little basic Pokemon single colorless energy tech, I like this maybe more than I should, but this is one of my favorite cards we're going through today. I think there is potential, which is more than I can say for Dubwool. Now, Dubwool does at least have 130 HP, that's the right side of the line. Single energy, 30 damage, switch to the bench. We didn't really like it with Landorus, we don't really like it with Dubwool. What I will say is that Dubwool, being a colourless Pokemon, can actually use powerful colourless energy, which means it's 50 switch to the bench, but you'll never be hitting anything for weakness, and honestly, that really puts me off. 2 energy, 70 damage, fine, twin energy, but 70 damage when you're never hitting for weakness. Sure, you'll get stuff like Galarian Zigzagoon, evolving basics, things of that nature. I still don't think it's good. And then we've got Stantler, which is, like I say, we're flicking between sets a tiny bit here. Stantler is one of the very few colourless Pokemon in the other set. 1 energy, 20 damage, just no. 2 energy, 30 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active. And this is annoying, because this is exactly the kind of attack that if you hit anything for weakness could be a good tech at some point in the future. But you're not. And this is what we want to do. We want to actually be hitting 40 damage. I say way back in the day. I feel old now. But back in the day when SP Pokemon were crushing, we had Deoxys EX. And Deoxys EX was used for the Power Connect ability that let your Plasma Pokemon do an extra 10 damage. It was a Plasma era, clearly not the SP era. Too many history videos. But for 2 energy, as long as one of them was Plasma, you did 30 damage, plus 30 more for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon. And you would hit weakness on Mewtwo, which was huge at the time. So you had a built-in counter. Stantler can't do that because you're never hitting anything for weakness, and I fear it's frankly never going to be good enough, and that makes me a little bit sad. Now, I did say we had the other monkeys coming here, and we do. We've got Simisage. Once again, we've got the insulting 100 HP. For 1 grass energy, you do 30 damage and draw 2. You got 6 cards in your hand. And I like this, like I said with Klefki, if you're taking a KO. If I can get a KO with this while drawing until I've got 6 cards in my hand, I like this. This is really good. The problem is, no one's playing this as a tech for the occasional KO while drawing cards as a Stage 1 Pokemon. You give me this on a basic, I'm loving it. And in a grass deck, because it is a grass energy, not a colourless, in a grass deck, there are blatantly going to be turns where you can get a KO, draw till you got 6 cards in your hand, and life is good. But are you going to play a Stage 1 Pokemon just for those turns? I suggest you're probably not. 2 energy, 70 damage. I mean, again, and this is a bit of a theme in these underwhelming Pokemon. I think 2 energy on a Stage 1, I want more than 70. And even if I'm hitting for weakness, I'm doing 140. That's still not enough. Nah. But we got one more monkey we can look at. We can look at Simisear. And I know a bunch of people do collect Kamiyama artwork. The lovely Primal Lugia among them. For those people, yay! For people that want to play the card, same awkward HP, boo. We've got 1 colourless energy, 20 damage on a Stage 1 Pokemon. Are you kidding me? And then we've got 1 fire energy, 60 damage for each basic energy discarded from your hand, up to a maximum of 2. So think of it like Blacephalon, if Blacephalon was terrible. The thing about Blacephalon was, it wasn't little KOs. Blacephalon was big KOs. This is basically that, for 1 energy, but at a maximum 120. Not even 130, just 120. I actively dislike this Simisear. I don't think it's a good card at all. No is about the most I can put it. But I like Ninetales a lot more. No, it's not the 120 HP. No, it's not the 2 energy 60. Both of those are disappointing. What I do like is the ability that says any of your Pokemon with fire energy have their retreat cost reduced by 2. It basically means that every fire energy you attach to your Pokemon, well, okay, the first fire energy attached to each of your Pokemon turns into an air balloon. You can't attach 2 and reduce your retreat cost by 4. And this is good. And there are absolutely going to be people that use this. If you're playing a fire deck, and if you can find the room, and that is a big if, because remember, you can't always find the room, both in your deck and on the bench, you're reducing your retreat cost, and this is going to be very, very useful indeed. Hey, look, there's a new Centiskorch. It's Rapid Strike, and the artwork is amazing. I am going to really try and make an effort to I've been doing it for a while, but really start pointing out the good artwork in the game even more than I have been. I've been doing it for a little while now, because there is some phenomenal art in the game, and this Centiskorch is very much among them. Now, we've got the good HP in 130. We've got 2 energy, 30 damage, but during your next turn, damage done by this Pokemon's attacks is increased by 90, and this is where we can be rolling. I like this. 30 damage now isn't good, and it is on a stage 1, so best case scenario, you went first, and this is turn 2, and your opponent's only had 1 turn. But there is stuff to like here. What is not to like, however, is you can't pay this with Rapid Strike Energy. Sure, it's a Rapid Strike Pokemon, but the problem is Rapid Strike Energy only pays Fighting and Water, and this is Fire, which really hurts as far as I'm concerned. Then we got free energy 120. If you use the first attack, it's 210, and I like it. But I just feel like this is going to be too awkward. If I can do 30 damage, then next turn you're hitting 210, yes. But also your opponent can use a boss's orders to reset this. If you go to the bench, you're not doing the extra damage next turn. And I think this is a bit of a gimmick Pokemon. I like it, but I don't think it's going to end up being good enough. Hey, speaking of gimmick Pokemon, we've got a new Plusle and a new Minun. And they're both Rapid Strike, and they make a lovely pair, and the artworks match, and I am loving it. So we need to start off with Minun here. We got single energy, call for family, search for 2 basic Pokemon and bench them. This used to be the kind of thing we played a lot. It really isn't anymore, and we've seen better anyway. But for 1 lightning energy, you do 20 damage. Alright, so Minun's pretty bad. Okay? I don't mind the call for family, but I think we can do better. But Plusle here, yeah, we can work with Plusle. Because if any of your Minun attacks during your last turn, this attack does 100 more damage, 120 total. So the theory here is very simple. Turn 1, you use Minun to go and get your basic Pokemon out, including probably Plusle, and then turn 2, you hit for 120 on a single colorless energy. I could see this seeing some cheeky play in some non-lightning decks, because of course, in non-lightning decks, you can use colorless energy to hit for lightning weakness. Obviously, you would have to use Call for Family or Minun, but I really do think that's the way to go. And maybe it is an early game thing, and maybe playing both of these just for that early game thing isn't going to end up being good enough. I don't know. All I know is it's a fun little combo that I can get excited about. Now, there is also a new Toxtricity coming along, and Pokemon do have a bit of a soft spot for Toxtricity. You've got the nice HP of 130. And then for 2 energy, you do 70 damage, and you have the option of automatic paralysis if you deal 70 damage to yourself. And you know what? I actually really like this. I think there is some fun to be had here. Because what you need to do is play Toxtricity in a healing deck. Play it with stuff like Hyper Potion, for instance. Now, Hyper Potion, you got to discard 2 energy, and then you heal up to 120, which would heal everything here. Now, hang on a second, Wassy. Discarding both those energy, that sounds like a lot. Well, yeah, but remember we got Flaaffy coming, and Flaaffy is a reprint of Electric. And actually, I'm on board at this stage. I like this. Speaking of which, that Flaaffy is being drawn by Okecheke, who is the best new artist in the Pokemon TCG. I might even do a video about how great this new artist is, because I am absolutely loving it. And I do want to do more art videos. Don't know if it's going to be a popular video, but I definitely want to do one at some point. Look how beautiful that Flaaffy is. My point is, if I'm using stuff like Hyper Potion to heal and Flaaffy to accelerate energy, I could get on board with this Toxtricity as a bit of a paralysis deck. This is another one that is a bit of a hidden gem in this particular list. Now, Salamence, I really, really want to like. I like Salamence as a Pokemon. I love the artwork on this card. There is so much to like about this Salamence. I even love the ability. The ability is great. The ability says that once during your turn, you may make your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their benched. They choose, incidentally, not you. Problem is, it's a stage 2. Giant HP, phenomenal artwork, great ability, but it's a stage 2. And for that reason, I really don't think it's going to see any play. With Lance Prism Star, I could get on board. But having said that, with Lance Prism Star, I'd be in Expanded, and then Expanded I can use the Salamence, the promo, which switches one of your opponent's bench. But you do get the choice. Yeah, this is genuinely just a worse version of that. Or they're better artwork. In Standard, it's too slow. And in Expanded, you want to use Lance. But we literally have not just a better Pokemon to use with Lance, we have a better Salamence to use with Lance. And I think that is pretty much going to be the reason we can't ever play this. There is an ability here, but there's also an attack. And the attack does 2 energy, 100 damage. If you've got any damage counters, it does 120 more. Now, to be fair, we can get the damage on there quite easily. Old Cemetery is one that I would be recommending. When you attach an energy to a non-psychic Pokemon, you take a damage counter. You need to get the other energy on, and that's awkward. Maybe in a Frostmoth deck, but now we're getting a little bit silly. I should also, this is a good time to give a correction. I often suggest that we should be using Melanie to attach water energy, and we should, but there's at least one time, probably a couple, where I've suggested attaching to something like this. Remember, Melanie only attaches to Pokemon V, and this doesn't count. So as much as this is a 2 energy 220, the energy is awkward. It's a stage 2, and I love the HP, love the artwork, love the ability, like the attack, but it's a stage 2 and it's just too awkward, and I'm sorry. But this is one, watch out for this, somebody might be able to make it work in the future. And that means we can finish off having a little bit of a look at Turtonator. Turtonator again's got 130, which is good. We've got free energy 80, but remember, dragons hit nothing for weakness, so that's not good. 1 fire, 1 fighting, 30 damage during your opponent's next turn. If this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, you put 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Okay, it's Shell Trap. It's Shell Trap just like we saw it on Turtonator GX, but I liked it so much more on Turtonator GX. And the reason I liked it so much more on Turtonator was the fact that it was 2 energy. So we could use Welder or double colorless or all kinds of things, quite frankly. And it is incidentally the same attack, except it actually does 30 more damage, but nah. It's just not going to end up being good enough. It's too easy to play around to be awkward to use. And that's the thing. It can be played around, but super easy to use, it's worth a try. Or it can be awkward but really good. It's not good enough to be this easy to play around, and I am sorry. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pretty big set, so we had a lot of Pokemon to go through. I believe it was actually 22, not 23, but 22 is so much nicer on the eyes, so I am cool with this, ladies and gentlemen. I am cool. And I think some of these are really good. I don't think they're all good. I think some of these are pretty bad. I think I've been honest about that. But I think some of them are good. And now it's over to you. I want to know which of these you think are good. I want to know which of these you want to be having a play with. I want you to go nuts and I want you to be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/TheWasi. patreon.com/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.